There's so much gospel here. Thank you, Chris, for recording. There's so much gospel here, and there's so many different directions you could go, and you've all heard many different sermons on this, but just two thoughts to share tonight that I think are relevant for us. One, I don't know if what it's about you, but this is not my favorite gospel story. It seems it's an odd story. And if you notice, you could take this story out of the gospels and they would remain largely unchanged. And that's what I'm starting to actually love about this story. It's superfluous. It doesn't feel necessary. And the story is really about, I mean, with Peter, I mean, the poor guy, he's just being invited to, he's being given a gift. He's being invited to listen and to see and to be. And of course, Peter, he just wants to do. He wants to do something. And I love that that sometimes God just gives us things for which we may have no practical use, just because God wants to do it. Jesus gave the disciples this gift of a vision of his glory and a voice from God on a mountaintop. And there was no essential reason for it other than it was just something that Jesus wanted to do. And his disciples hopefully learned on this day that they were that sometimes God just wants us to sit and listen and soak in the gifts that God is giving us, and is not requiring anything at all of us. So when you are about your life and work, and especially your work here as presidents, there may be times, there will be, of course, many times when you're called to act, but there may be, and there will be many other times when you are invited to just take a breath and hear the good news and wait for the voice of God. So there's that. And then there's also this. The curious thing in the Gospel of Mark, and it is in the other Gospels too, but especially Mark's Gospel, it's called the messianic secret. It's Jesus keeps telling his disciples, don't tell anybody about it. Don't tell them that you saw me transfigured on the mountain until later. And Jesus does not, he forgoes the titles, all the titles in his earthly life. He forgoes the title of King and Messiah and Lord of Lords. All of those titles apply to him, and he's not interested in them. And if you wonder why that is, you don't have to wonder very long if you are a person who also has a title. I have a title. Many of you have titles. And I know that you know that sometimes that title just gets in the way, right? It just comes between you and the people that you really want to help and serve if you can. And it was certainly would have been true of the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings and the Son of God, that the title of that his title would come in the way of him wanting to just do what he did in the Gospels. And the very next story, he's there for a dad who's struggling with his faith and his son is sick. He wants to be able to just stand beside that dad and help him navigate that time and heal his son. It happens again later or earlier in the gospel with a dad whose daughter has died, and he wants to just be able to stand beside that dad and raise his daughter up. It happens over and over again when Jesus just wants to enter into the life of the people he loves. And that's good news for us, that we have a Lord. That I think one thing that's revealed in this story among many is that we have a Lord who, while he has many titles, he's really not that interested in them. He's really interested in you and walking beside you and the work you do, in the life you lead, and all the joys and struggles that you have. So let us pray. Holy God, thanks for gathering us together here tonight as leaders across your church. Thanks for each and every person on this call and the unique gifts that you've given them, and their willingness to serve, and all of the unique places where they are serving. What an abundance of gifts you poured out with your Holy Spirit. Thank you, God. Lord, I ask that you would help us each morning or evening, whenever it's best for us, to take a breath and listen and just be and know that you love us. And Lord, help us, give us eyes to see you walking with us, empowering us, walking beside us in the challenges we face, in all of the things you call us to do. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, just a quick overview of tonight's of our time together tonight. We are going to be hearing from 4 different presidents in very different contexts that are representative of many contexts across our church. And then you'll have opportunity to go into breakouts based on which of those contexts seems to most align with your own, or maybe just the one you're most curious about. It's up to you. We're going to ask you, and Pastor Rebel will go into some more detail, or Pastor Janelle, I think, will go into some more detail here. We're going to ask you to report out when you come back. And then we will hear from Pastor Chris Eldridge, our Synod Treasurer, who will talk a little bit about the responsibilities of treasurer, and then a treasurer of congregations. And then we just have some announcements and updates, and that'll bring us to an end. It'll be a very full and rich hour. So I'm going to turn over to you now, Pastor Janelle.
Awesome. Well, again, I extend my welcome and thank you for that devotional thought, Bishop Bill. We are going to hear from 4 different leaders that they've been asked to be out in the field talking a little bit about. And when you go into your breakout group, we just want to ask that somebody take some notes and some nuggets, because we've had many people reach out saying, can you record tonight? I can't be there, and we can't record the small groups. So we're going to report back a little bit what we learned and what we can hear about how to serve God's church as leaders of God's church. So again, rostered ministers and congregational presidents, treasurers, or leaders, you're welcome to go into these 4 groups. And Christina, can they choose their 4 groups? Is that what we're going to do? Can you give them instructions on that, please?
Yeah, I'm building those right now. I was trying to learn how to add closed captioning to Zoom. I hadn't done that before, and so I was a little distracted, but I am going to create 4 breakout rooms, 1 for each of our presenters. And so I am going to put it by their names. And if Pastor Janelle can share and introduce them, and have them share a little bit about their context and about why we've asked them to share at this meeting, then you can pick the room that is best for you and your context. And then you'll hear a little bit from everybody when we get back together. And if you have a problem getting into the room that you want to, I'm here for you. So I'm going to get those rooms together while Pastor Janelle introduces the people.
All right. Well, first off, I'm happy to introduce to you Nicole Bieberdorf, who's representing the larger churches in our synod. So Nicole, do you want to share who you are and where you're from?
Hi, good evening. Nicole Bieberdorf from Bemidji, and I attend and am the president at Calvary Lutheran in Bemidji.
Thanks for being here tonight, Nicole. Next, I'd like to introduce you to Michelle Spear. Michelle is with us tonight, representing Solo Calls. Michelle.
Hello, I'm Michelle Spear. I represent, or the president of Bethel Lutheran Church in Herman, Minnesota, and that is located in West Central Minnesota for those who are unaware.
Thanks, Michelle. Next presenting will be Kip Fontaine, and Kip is in a unique, wonderful, innovative situation. And Kip, why don't you share who you are and where you're from?
Thank you, Janelle. My name is Kip Fontaine. I'm a retired lawyer, so now I believe I'm doing the Lord's work instead. But anyway, I hail from Maple Lake, Mentor, Minnesota, and I am the president of a 5-point parish representing Fertile, Beltrami, rural Fertile, the villages of Mentor and Rindal, with the kind of the mother church being Concordia in Fertile.
Thanks, Kip. Glad you're here tonight. And lastly, we have Pete coming to us from right outside of Moorhead here. And Pete is representing kind of a mid-sized church. Pete Jacobson. Sorry, I didn't say your last name. Pete, share who you are and where you're from. Okay, Pete, you're muted. Sorry. Try it again. Is that working? No one can hear. Okay. All right. Well, Pete's here.
How about now?
Hey, there you go. Thanks, Pete.
Yeah, I've been having some technical difficulties. First, my PC didn't work, and then my app was outdated. So it's been good evening. So, Pete Jacobson, was first Lutheran in Audubon here, and I'm not the president anymore, but I was up until last July.
Smaller congregation that went through a big transition recently, right? So with from full-time to half-time. And then I think Bethel is also a smaller congregation, but a solo, definitely like solo. So and being served by Sam right now. So
Those are our presenters. I'm going to put their names in the chat so you can be reminded of who they are and kind of what they represent. And then Chris will help us get into some groups to go a little bit deeper and learn some more.
Wonderful. So I'm going to open up the rooms and hopefully you will see. I put in their names as the rooms and where they're at and the type of church they are. And so you will click to join which one you want to be in. And I will just stay here if you need help and I can assign people to places. So I will, people are getting in there.
Really? I'm not seeing anything.
Nothing popped up for you? You might need to go to the bottom and if you're on a computer, there may be a breakout room option for you to click on and then it will pop up all of your options.
Mhm.
yeah, your options are Nicole in large church, Michelle, solo rural, Kip, 5-point parish, and Pete shifted to part-time. So people are finding their way in.
Yeah. And Pete, oh, good. You got there. There's people in each room.
Anyone need any help?
Kay, you're muted, Kay. I'd love
Christina
to-
can assign you, so just
Yeah.
let her know.
Yeah, Kay, let me know what room you want to go in. Oh, you're muted.
You can type it in the chat, Kay.
And same with you, Brenda. If you want to go in a room, it looks like you're shopping and
I don't know where to get into this. I don't have a
Okay.
clue.
Brenda,
All
if
right.
you can put Brenda in Kips, please.
put Brenda and Kit. And Kay, what congregation are you at?
Mount Carmel,
Mount Carmel in
Roosevelt.
Rosa. Oh, you're up north. So we have a solo rural with a Sam or a parish.
A parish.
Okay, perfect. I will put you in with Kit. Okay. There we go.
Thanks, Kay.
Something should pop up for you to join.
Cindy's in that same parish. So you can send her there too.
Just it.
And I see Stephanie's not here, but I think she'd probably go in Nicole's.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And I will go in Pete Jacobson's to help him out if he needs any help, okay?
And where do you want to go, Janelle?
I'm really open.
There's a lot of people in Kips and a lot of people in Michelle.
I can go to Kips.
Okay. Should I maybe go to the large church one?
Nicole,
Yeah.
did I put Kay in the wrong one? Kay was supposed to go to Kips, right? Oh, you're muted, Bishop.
Oh, thought I'd try a different room now.
Okay.
I think I'll go over to Michelle's. Let's see what's going on over there.
Yeah, Dennis is in that one.
Okay, I'm gonna try a different one now. I'm going to Kips.
All right. I think that one has the most.
Good enough. Made my presence known. That's all I need to do. They're really just getting going in those groups though, so
Okay, how much time should we give them?
gosh. We're not gonna have much time for other stuff, but
But
I
it's saving instead of 40 minutes of time too.
what's that?
Instead of giving them each 10 minutes to share, it's saving time that way.
Right, definitely. Yeah, we would never. I'm gonna guess you want to give them, we can eavesdrop and see how the conversation's going, but
Mhm.
probably
Maybe.
another.
Like 5-minute warning? Is that not enough?
Yeah, well, I'd say give them a 5-minute warning because our announcements can go really fast.
Yeah,
We would just want to leave some time for Chris,
yeah,
like 15 minutes or so.
yeah,
And if we take 5 minutes for the rest of it, that should be good.
yeah. Yeah. 15, 5, 20.
Hi, sorry, did I miss the meeting?
No,
Yes.
take
No.
out. What size group do you, there's 4 different presidents, one of a large congregation, one of a large area parish, one of a small congregation served by a SAM, and one of a small congregation with a halftime pastor. Which one do you want to go in?
The large-
Small congregation.
With
Maybe
a
a
half,
small congregation halftime pastor. I'm just here to see if there's anything helpful for Campus Ministries Board. So maybe the small congregation
Okay.
halftime pastor.
So do you see the breakout room things?
the icon at the bottom.
I do.
So
Okay.
you would want to select Pete Jacobson
Great. Okay.
and
thank you.
Pastor Rebels in there.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
The lodge was great.
Good.
And we're probably we're gonna launch the second cohort this spring. And we realized we need to do this training much earlier in the process. So we'll probably do it this fall.
Oh, okay.
And that was a good location for us. Except we want the bigger room.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. BNSF had it.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna fairly soon try to get some dates in the calendar.
Okay.
How were they for prices?
The the meeting room was like 100 a day. The hotel rooms were like 110 a night, but they're really nice.
Yeah.
And
You think he's good enough?
yeah, breakfast was included, and then the lunches were catered from La Barista, which I would have used.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I thought it was just fine.
Good.
We can set it up for there again.
Yeah, they were delightful to work with too.
Yeah, that's the big thing. They were really flexible, easy to work with. I mean, the room worked.
Yeah, it was
But
tight.
It was tight and they did whatever they could to make it better for us.
Mm-hmm.
So if we had that same thing, but just had the big room, it'd be perfect.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Even if that big room cuts in half, I don't know if that does or not. I don't know if it's got
Yeah.
like a divider in it, but half of that big room would be enough too. But
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Yeah.
How are you doing? So we never did get to the time, but I was gonna say that give them
The 5 minute at 6:35.
6:35.
I did the budget today for Senate Assembly, and I sent it to Julie to look over. But it looks like I can do it, and I was very generous with the numbers, like over what I think, and it was 200 a person. So
And let's see, we were at like 150.
150 was the late rate. Hey, Brenda. Looks like you're on the move.
Hi, Brenda.
Supposed to be in
There you
KIPS, I
go.
got kicked out, and I'm traveling, so
Yeah.
Well, there's 5 minutes left in the breakouts, and the different breakouts are a large congregation, a parish of multiple congregations, a small church served by a SAM, and a small church served by a pastor. Which
Well,
one?
I was in KIPS, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, we're with Pastor Rachel up in
Oh, sure.
Bethany and Williams, so
Yeah.
so we have a small 2-point parish.
Yeah.
Yep. Good.
Are you up there in Williams Roosevelt? And not Williams
Yes.
Roosevelt.
Yep,
In,
that's right.
Yep.
yeah, Williams Roosevelt.
Yep.
I was in your neck of the woods camping over Labor Day.
Oh, were
last
you?
year. Yep. Beautiful place. So
But there's a lot of distance.
it was so hot though. Ooh. My tent didn't have air conditioning. But I'll put you back in there for a little while, Brenda, because you'll have 5 more minutes in there. It was 120 for early and 150 for late
That
last year.
Oh, okay. And then,
It was 50 for the Great Synod get together.
okay.
But
And
when
you-
I've been telling people, I've said guess for around 200 that I
Yeah.
would. So
should we just set it at 200?
yeah, I sent it to Julie. I'll see what I wrote.
I hope Julie brings that to the council.
Yeah, she will. We've talked about it.
Okay. Then I won't worry about it.
I did a whole like real budget this year. As opposed to, because this will be the first one of having all the different things.
So next year's budget is going to be tight. We'll have breathing room in other places with
Mhm.
strategic initiatives, and then of course this new position.
Mhm.
But we were over on a number of expenses, including a few that you oversee. And we gotta rein, we can't, if we want to subsidize, if we need to subsidize like either of the youth gatherings, we need to decide that in advance and then use strategic initiative money to do it. Can't subsidize it in the budget.
Okay.
We were 90,000 in the hole this year. Not just from you, but I mean.
I was like, I didn't spend anywhere near that much money.
No, not all you. And it wasn't huge. It was significant, but it wasn't huge. And then we had some extraordinary, we bought a car for 15,000, and it's just mission support was down, and we bought a car, and we were over on some travel and some other things, and just how it went. But I'm not, as long as we, you have that money and, that 10 grand that we raised.
Yeah.
And that's for whatever and if you want to like make application, which is basically just talk to us about, I'd like to do this with the middle school youth, and I'd like to get the cost down a little bit. I mean, we can talk about grants from that budget, because that budget's flush. We have like $250,000 sitting there. I mean, there's a lot's going to get spent now with grants and everything, but.
Okay. What was the biggest dip of what I oversee? I gave him a 3-minute warning.
No, you didn't do a senior high thing this year, did you? We're only talking about a few $1,000s. We're not talking about like tens of thousands. So it was the middle school.
Okay.
And I didn't do all the math because there's several line items that apply to it. It's just, we actually budget to make a little bit of money on it, which we don't need to do. We just need to break even.
Yeah.
And if we can't, let's know it in advance and make sure we subsidize it somewhere else and not in the budget. So I'm not yelling at you. It wasn't terrible. I'm saying that to everybody. I've already talked to 2 of the other staff about travel expense, and so we've all got, including me, areas where we can watch it a little more closely.
And I know that some of the expense for the middle school gathering, I was gonna use with that for money, like the initiative, but I didn't know like how to write that in my stuff. Because I was gonna pay for the youth mileage and like their staying and meals at the gathering.
Well, we're not officially closing the year out till next week. So if you still want to do that, still can be done. We can put a budget just for, can actually just add it to the revenue line item from
Okay.
the. Yeah.
Okay.
If there's some
I'll
amount.
look at that. I know I made a little bit of money at the Fall Theological, which surprised me.
And I budgeted that again this year because we need it. So we should probably get him back.
Yeah, I'm gonna close the room. I don't like going over budget.
Well, I know you're really careful about it, and that's why don't obsess about it at
No,
all.
I won't, but
Yeah.
I try hard not to.
I know.
I'll forward you the email from Julie. She's sad I took the plants out of the budget. There were 2 line items to rent plants in the former budget. Just so stupid.
Here come people back.
Welcome back. Hi, man. You're not in Florida anymore, are you? How's my hope doing?
Well, man, I've been muted before, but not like that. So I'll finish my thoughts later.
Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah, welcome back. I think Pastor Rebel's going to lead us in just a quick reflection on what we heard in each of the groups. So I'm going to turn over to you, Rebel.
Thanks. Yeah, if we can have a representative from Nicole's group, please share some nuggets of the things that you've learned and talked about. That would be excellent. Was anyone assigned to do it?
We didn't pick a spokesperson, but I did jot some notes down.
Perfect.
We talked about our communication with the senior pastor. For example, I meet weekly. We meet offsite and have coffee, and it was something that we implemented during a time when we were transitioning from our former senior pastor to through the call process, and it has really been meaningful, I think, for both. We talked about I think all of us have experienced that during COVID, our youth programs saw a decline in attendance, and so trying to address keeping that high school age especially engaged, and trying to walk that balance of budgets are tight, and yet we how do we invest in our kids, and just kind of take that leap of faith sometimes when even though numbers might not show that it's we just trust God. And then we were just getting into the conversation of online giving, and some of the different methods that we're using, Vanco versus Rebel Give, having QR codes that are handy, card readers. There's so many worshipers that don't carry cash or aren't, they're not check writers. And so again, just having that stability, or what we've seen is, more of a stable giving when there's that automated giving. So just again, trying to meet our people where they are. And then we got cut off.
Sounds like poor Pastor Janelle got cut off. I'm sure she has more to say. Thank you so much for that. That's wonderful. How about from Michelle's group?
Well, I got assigned. I'm Janet from Our Saviors in Balsamland, in Sabika and Aldridge. And we talked about, she had noticed that they've just contracted with a pastor to 40/60 in sharing with another congregation. And she talked about kind of their journey there with how they've been using pulpit supply. And I can imagine how stressful that was for her, always having to find somebody for every Sunday. We talked about the different ways of sharing difference, or how to find if you're a church that is maybe looking for somebody, or how to look for somebody that you can help to assist with pastoring. We talked about confirmation and how it's handled when you have two different ones. One talked about how they do Zoom at one, and then the other, every other week, the other church hosts and the other kids Zoom in for confirmation, which I thought was kind of a cool idea, and maybe will work for Our Saviors in Balsamland, since a little bit, maybe with some tweaking. And then we talked about different summer services. The one pastor talked about serving halftime, and in the summer times having Wednesday night services instead of weekend services, and how we all have to be very flexible in these smaller churches to adjust and just kind of go with what works and learn what works and how to tweak those workings.
Thank you so much, Janet. It sounds like you were really just moving right along there. That's a lot of different things to talk about.
We were.
That is fantastic. I wish that we could have each been in each room.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Janet.
You're welcome.
And thank you, Michelle, for leading that. And we have Daphne, Pastor Daphne, who's going to speak for KIPS Group.
Yep. Hello. All right. So Kip was great. He talked about his parish of 5 churches. They are about 30 miles apart, north, south, east, and west. They have 7 board members on their parish council. 3 of those board members come from their mother church, which is the largest one. And then the rest of the council members make up from all the little churches. And he talked about what the parish board responsibilities are versus individual councils, because yes, there's one board of 7 people for all 5 churches, but then every church of the 5 have their own individual councils as well. Their senior they have 2 pastors, 2 ordained pastors. Well, they had 2 ordained pastors. One retired, their senior one, last July, and they've been going through the call process, which they're still in. But they have a Pastor Philip who has helped them go through a transition visioning program. And they came up with 5 key vision points. And then they have been talking and about what the positives are and what the challenges are. Or maybe this was just Kip. I guess I'm not quite clear, because this is his 4th year as parish president, so he was kind of talking about this stuff. But one thing positive is that they have 5 strong individual churches. They have strong pastoral leadership, and they have strong office staff leadership, which helps keep everyone where they should be. Their financial structure for the parish is 25% of the annual budget is a fixed cost and divided equally, and 75% of the budget is divided up based on the amount of confirmed members. So the larger congregations have more members, they pay in more to come up with the monthly stipends and bills and stuff that they need to pay for all the salaries and various things. The parish board does not micromanage. There is clear division of labor between the parish board and the individual church councils. And then some challenges that are there is that not all the churches hear all of the same information at the same time. They do have a monthly parish pulse, but once a month information can feel outdated at times. So they're working on hiring some sort of communication person who can be in charge of the website and Facebook feeds and just perhaps emails out to the congregation people, something like that, because the pastors can't do it all. So 2 pastors, one pastor leads 3 worship services Sunday, and the other one leads 2 worship services a Sunday. Neither of them can stay for any of the fellowships and to visit with the people, because they go to the next church. So the people are a little sad about that. They're looking into possibly combining church worship services at some point. A challenge is who takes responsibility for an oversight, whether it be, anybody who is that. And they have their challenge for having new council members or parish council members is there's not a good job of some sort of orientation. It's just kind of like throw you in and figure it out. And no annual reviews are ever done of any of their staff because there's just not time for it. Yeah, anything else that I missed? Group? No? Kip, give me the okay. Okay.
Well, that was very detailed. Thank you very much. And with all ministries and then multiplying it by 5, there are things that work and there are challenges. And so thank you for naming all of those. And I want to learn more about it. Our final group was a small member congregation, and our leader was Pete Jacobson. Pete did a lovely job. I will speak for the group. One of the things that Pete spoke about was the transition of how hard it is to go from a full-time pastor to a part-time pastor, and they currently have a mission developer. So the heaviness of that was that the pastor was sharing that they no longer needed a full-time pastor. And it's hard for the congregation to hear that and to wonder why that would be and to kind of go through that. But he said the ministry in that moment, it was necessary, but it was hard. And so we sat with him in that, absolutely. He also shared that it was a bit unnerving in between the times of knowing what was going to happen next. And I know that every single person on this Zoom can relate to that. It is unnerving when you don't know. And the beauty was, and I heard this actually in all 3, I made note of it in all 3 of your reports prior to this, was trusting in God is really important. Trusting that God has a plan, has gone ahead, knows the plan, and we are simply the last ones to find out, and that is okay. So Pete talked a lot about that, and that was super helpful. He also talked about that they recently talked about, and then the whole group joined in on this, of folks really recognizing that people are wanting community, but not necessarily going into the walls of a church. And so what does that look like for our future? And what does that feel like? And how do you lead in and through that? We in the group talked about how the hang in there necessity of we're hanging in there is really important in leadership. Sometimes there's just some hanging in there and it will work out, and God has a plan, and we need to trust that. And so that was duly noted several times, and that we lead with the leadership gifts that we have. Sometimes we may not think that we have the gifts to lead, and we are equipped with them as we go. And sometimes stepping into those leadership roles are hard. The final thing was that we did hear that people were really grateful, appreciative of the Synod working with them through the transition processes. So that was kind. Thank you for mentioning that. And I will say thank you to a wonderful group and pass it off to Bishop Bill.
Thank you, Pastor Rebel, and thanks to all 4 of the presidents. I just want to name right now that I know we're going to go over time, and this is being recorded, and we won't be breaking into small groups again. If you must leave, go ahead. But I think we're going to probably end up wrapping up at around 7:15 tonight. I will just say a couple of very technical details for you council presidents and other council members. Read your model constitution of your for congregations of your ELCA. And if you're wondering we don't even know where our constitution is, find it or Google Model Constitution ELCA, and it'll bring you up first hit will be a PDF, and you can download it. But read the whole Constitution. It's not that long, but maybe start with chapter 12, which is the chapter on the council, which outlines how the council is to work, and chapter 5, which is powers of the congregation, which tells you exactly what the congregation has authority to do and not do. So just a couple of thoughts there. I'm going to turn it over to Chris Eldridge, Pastor Chris Eldridge, who is our treasurer. He's going to share some best practices for treasurers. And also there's a link here for the Constitution that Chris just brought up. So Chris Dernier brought up the link. Chris Eldridge is going to speak next. So go ahead, Chris Eldridge.
Well, thank you. It's good to be here with everyone this evening. I put together a document that basically has got everything that I thought would be helpful in terms of tools for treasurers and maybe even council presidents as we think about that work that we're doing. Most so often we get a request, we get a gift, and we wonder, where is this got to go to? You know, who takes care of this? The Synod, or does the ELCA take care of this? And so a couple of tools that we have been put together by Synod staff to help in that way. And I'm going to share my screen here, and I'm going to bring up in that shared screen a document that you can actually download, okay, from the Synod website. So you don't have to take notes. It's out there on the website, and you can get it and use it to, you know, your perusal and benefit at a later time. So this is the very first time from this location that I've shared a screen. So I'm going to do it now, and give me a thumbs up that you can see the screen and hear the screen and hear me, or a thumbs down if we mess things up. Okay, so here we go. Can you see that? Okay, helpful resources and links for congregational treasurers. What do you think, Janelle? Can you see that and hear me okay?
Got to hit share screen and then click on the document. Hit the green up button, and then so I'm assuming Chris has given you permission already.
Yeah. Would you like me to do it for you, Pastor Chris?
I'd love it. Sorry.
Okay. I'm on it. It's all good.
Technology. A gift and a curse. A gift and a curse.
So just so you know, where you will find this document is on our resources and congregations yearly updates. And then this is the document that Pastor Chris has put together that we will be looking at.
Okay, so you can see the screen, the resources.
Document. The document isn't up yet, Chris.
Oh, sorry.
We're just seeing the website. You gotta because it opened as a separate document. You'll have to share that document instead of this. So there you go.
There we go. All right. Okay, thanks very much, Chris. Appreciate that help. So you can get this document from the Northwest Minnesota Synod website, and that's the link at the top that'll take you to this. And Chris, I think I'm going to have you scroll down to the next page, if you would, which is actually the congregational remittance form. And so the Synod staff has put together two major pieces. Number one, there's a treasurer's letter, okay? And The treasurer's letter from the synod contains all kinds of updated contact information and links. And if you did not, it was mailed out in January. If you haven't gotten that yet, just call the synod and talk to Cheryl Zay, or you can download it from this particular link as well. The form that's up on the page right now, this 2024 congregation remittance form, is kind of a key to what treasurers want to use, because it will allow you to take a copy of this form, fill it in, send it to Cheryl Z at the synod office, and all those, that address and everything is all here on the form. And it will make sure that your money gets to where you want it to go. The other really nice thing about using these forms is that when you use them, no matter where the gift is intended to go, whether it's one of the synod ministries or whether it's one of the church-wide ministries, you'll get from the synod a quarterly report and also year-end reporting of all the gifts. So that's the big thing about using this. It'll do a lot of your accounting work for you as you go along. And so download this form, get that treasurer's letter, because it's got the contact, it's got the updates pieces. And if you have any questions, really the person to talk to is Cheryl Zay at the synod office. All right. She is the staff person that receives all the funds and makes sure that they get to their proper place in the piece. Christina, maybe with that, why don't you move along here to the next page, these printed resources for treasurers. And that is a link to a website at the ELCA church-wide website. This is a whole bunch of files. I just sent out 4 of them that are here. But so, for example, financial best practices for congregations, congregational treasurer's financial and accounting guide, the records retention schedule, council officer job descriptions. These are things that have been put together by our church-wide treasurer's office. They've been reviewed by the legal staff. They're updated. They're really good pieces in terms of the different things that are out there and would be really handy for you. You can print them out, et cetera, and use them for reference purposes. That's a good piece. Just a couple of other quick things that we're going to look at. You may or may not have your hands on the scroll down just a little bit more. There you go, Chris. Thank you, Christina. The your nonprofit organization designation depends on when it went in the files in the parish. Sometimes we know where they are. Sometimes we don't know where they are. But basically what happens is, as an ELCA congregation, we do not have to make a file for our own nonprofit exemption ruling. We get that by virtue of being a congregational member of the ELCA. So, Chris, just scroll down another bit, and you'll see there's a sample certification letter there. This is one from the parish in Fergus Falls that I most recently served. And you can see it's dated 2018. That's because we couldn't find it when we needed it. And so we went through the process of getting it through the ELCA. It takes a couple of weeks to get it. It takes about 2 to 3 weeks to get it. But if you don't have it, it's important to have, especially if you want to take care of things like state sales tax etc. So Christina, maybe just quickly go to the next page, and you'll see there got a couple of things there in terms of our federal employment identification number, our EIN. That's the special number that we pay our withholding taxes to, etc. And then, of course, the Minnesota State sales tax exemption number that keeps us from having to pay sales tax. And the link there is the process for getting a Minnesota State sales tax exemption. You probably already have one. You may not know what the number is. That site will help you track it through. And then just other couple of helpful resources on the page. Many of you may know about TechSoup, for example. Maybe you don't, but TechSoup is a specialty nonprofit organization that helps churches, libraries, charities, providing access to software. So like, for example, if you're using Quicken software for your accounting processes, or if you're using Adobe software to produce your bulletins, if you're using Microsoft software to for your office tools, you know how expensive those things are to just step out and buy them. You need to be a member of TechSoup because you qualify as a nonprofit organization, religious organization under the auspices of the ELCA. And that's the link, TechSoup.org. That's the link to start that process, to grab that. But in order to do that, you got to show them your certificate for your 501c3, for example. You got to tell them and give them your number that you're a Minnesota sales tax exemption number, etc. So that's why I was putting those up. You can download this whole thing and be sure to try to call me if you have questions that go as a part of it, and I'll stop at that point, I guess. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Chris. Why don't we just take a couple of minutes here, pause, take a deep breath, and ask, are there any burning questions right now? You're certainly welcome to reach out to me, our staff. We might refer you to Chris with treasurer type questions, but any that are out there right now. Not seeing anybody moving to the microphone. Got to practice saying that, because we're having our first in-person assembly this year.
Bishop Tesh.
Yes.
I'd just like to point out that you instructed us to take a look at the model constitution. With regard to our 5-point parish, we had to undergo a special memorandum of understanding for those 5 churches to enter into the type of relationship that we do have. So I have that memorandum of understanding available as well for churches that are looking into getting into agreement with other churches.
Wonderful. Please send that on to us, because we try to keep a little treasure box of resources like that, and that's actually one we get asked quite a bit with new parishes forming all the time. Like, how do we give us? And so we'll often just provide a couple of examples, and people can adapt them for their own. So if you wouldn't mind sending that to us.
I'll be with Janelle on Sunday afternoon, so I'll give it to her then.
Perfect. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm sure there are folks on this call. In fact, I already see Pastor Rachel naming that might be helpful for others too. So great. Let's see. So just this, now we're going to run through some quick announcements. This last week we had our Giving Hearts Day. This is I think the 3rd year we've done Giving Hearts Day, and by far our most successful. We met our match by almost But we have a generous donor that offers matching funds of $25,000, and we met that match by about noon on Giving Hearts Day, and exceeded our goal. So this allows us to do probably the biggest thing we do. Yeah, but thank you so much. It's amazing. Biggest thing we do with that, almost $60,000-$70,000 a year, or this year, will go to help subsidize or underwrite some large grants to rostered ministers who have a good deal of seminary educational debt. It goes to underwrite leadership development in our synod. It goes for direct grants to congregations called Go For It grants, which you can apply for if you have a big dream, big idea. These are smaller, like $500 to maybe $2,000 to $3,000 grants to help you go for it, encourage you to try something new. So just a few of the things that your money supports. So thank you so much for your generosity on Giving Hearts Day. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris to talk about the ELCA Youth Gathering.
Hello, everybody. I was just in. Pastor Janelle has her beads. Pastor Rebels are in her office. And Bishop Bill sent his back to me. He didn't want to wear the beads. But I won't take offense to that. I'll try not to. But I am so excited.
I didn't know what they were for.
I told you. Whatever. Missed opportunity. Tomorrow is Fat Tuesday. And first of all, the ELCA Youth Gathering is this summer in New Orleans, and I was in New Orleans in January, and I have a king cake mix that I am going to send to one lucky person on this call. So I need you guys to put in the chat a number from, I'm not going to bake this for you. You have to bake it yourself. But pick a number 1 to 50, and I'm going to tell Siri to pick a number 1 to 50, and whoever is the closest will get this sent to you. And people like Brother Jeff and Pastor Caitlin, you get 2 because there's 2 of you there. You don't get 1 per cat though in your house. Hey Siri, pick a number 1 to 50. I'm going to make sure it doesn't say it. Okay. Take a screenshot of it so you don't think I'm lying. All right. So a couple of things about the ELCA Youth Gathering that I'm so excited to tell you about. I'm wearing, the theme is Created to Be, and we will be having a trip leader information meeting on March 7th, which is a Thursday, 1 at 1 o'clock and 1 at 7 o'clock. And the agendas will be the same, and I'll have them be recorded. Just to give our trip leaders some information to help make the trip go smoothly and loving, amazing for all of those who are attending. If you don't have youth from your congregation who are going to the ELCA Youth Gathering, there's still ways that you can be part of it. One, they'll be showing the mass gatherings online, and that's wonderful worship. And another way is you can find a congregation, and I can help you find a congregation that you can partner with and pray for the young people and their adult leaders, because the adult leaders need prayers too, who are going. You can be prayer partners. That would be such a gift for those young people and those adult leaders. Another way you can support the youth gathering is the in-kind offering for the youth gathering this year is putting together hurricane preparation kits. And they're asking each region of the ELCA to bring certain things. And we're in region 3. And they are asking people of Region 3 to bring power banks. You know, those things that you can plug in your phone when I talk too much on the phone and I don't have a plug-in nearby. And so people in our region will be collecting power banks to bring down to New Orleans to put together hurricane preparedness packages for the people of New Orleans and along the Gulf Coast, which I think is just such a wonderful idea. And another way to support the ELCA youth gathering is one thing that just, it almost brings tears to my eyes when I think about that this actually happened, this cycle of the youth gathering, is our synod hasn't had people attend table or mile for at least 6 cycles in our synod. So mile is a multicultural youth initiative, and table is for those who are definitely able. That's a pre-gathering, so they go early and experience this wonderful leadership or this pre-gathering with the table where they're with a caregiver and they get to experience things where their needs are met. And then they get to experience the large gathering with their congregation. And it's just, I got to experience part of the table when I was in Houston, and it gives me goosebumps. It just was such a holy space and place. And for the first time in so many years, we have people from our synod getting to attend both of those. And those things are a little bit more expensive. So if that's something that is on your heart, we're not going to do a big ask because we do enough of those. But if that's something that's burning on your heart and you'd like to help out people who are caregivers, along with young people who have special needs, or multicultural youth attending this wonderful leadership event, contact me and I'd love for a way that you can help them out. So yeah, and pray for all the young people and especially the adults who will be going. Bishop Bill and I will be down there as well. And I hope to see some of you. I know some of you will be down there too. That's my youth gathering spiel.
Thanks, Chris. And we're getting real close to the end, folks. But Chris, you want to announce about Synod Assembly and when it is and who should come?
Yeah. Synod Assembly is May 17th to the 18th. It will be at Concordia College. And we will be in person and all together. So there isn't a great synod get together because Synod Assembly will be a great synod get together. The Synod Assembly planning team is excited about the speakers and our theme, and that will hopefully all be rolled out at the end of this month or the very beginning of March, along with registration information. But it will be a Friday, Saturday, May 17th and 18th. So we are excited for you to come and be with us here at Concordia.
Thank you. I know Pastor Rebel has been posting some stewardship ideas and resources, but I'll give you just a minute to share whatever it is you want to share, Pastor Rebel.
Yeah, we're going to throw all of these on the website. Christina maybe already did that, but the stewardship page gets updated pretty frequently. So be checking that. You can copy and paste these things into a document or however it is you do it really quickly. So 2 events to possibly sign up for, several stewardship resources. And I just heard of a new one today, but I can't type that fast. So I hope that something will be useful for you.
Yeah, thank you. You know, I just want to add to that. We'll get calls, September, October, November, sometimes desperate calls from congregation leaders. You know, money's coming up short and we need a stewardship appeal. Well, don't wait till September, October, November as you're coming to year end. The time to start planning for stewardship is well, I always did it right after Easter for the following fall. So we'd have the summer to plan, but sometime this summer might be a or early this summer, a good time to start thinking about what to do to invite people to grow in their generosity, which is a faith practice, by the way. We invite them to grow in their generosity because it helps them also grow in their faith. It's not to pay the church's bills. That's a fringe benefit. The main benefit is that the faith practice of giving helps us to grow in our own faith. And so reach out to us. We want to help. I'm passionate about it. So is Rebel. We have lots of resources. That's everything for tonight. And it was a full night. And thank you for hanging in there with us. I know for all of you who did, it will be recorded and put up on the website. Are there any burning last minute questions before I turn it over to Pastor Janelle for a blessing?
The winner is Marilyn. The number was 25. She was the closest at 27.
Way to go, Marilyn. Nice. All right. No, seeing no questions, I am going to turn it over to Pastor Janelle to send us out in prayer or blessing.
So I'm going to use the blessing from this book called Called to Lead. And I challenge you as congregational presidents and treasurers, if you don't have this book, order it from Augsburg Fortress. I'd be happy to read it along with you, pass on the word, lots of great information about how we lead congregations together. And we'll be sent out with this blessing of the installation. It comes from the installation of elected officers. You are to work together with other members to see that the worship and work of Christ are done in this congregation and or parish, and that God's will is done in this community and in the entire world. May it be so tonight in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Have a blessed evening, everyone. Thank you, Pastor Janelle. Great resource, by the way, that little book. It's very thin. It even has pictures, so pick it up.
Thank you.
See ya.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.